I'm Rosalind Turner with the Division of Communications here at KDE. And one of my favorite roles is serving as liaison to the Commissioner's Student Advisory Council. This is the first meeting of the 2025 school year, and I'm really excited to have you here in person for our very first meeting. As I know, our Commissioner, Dr. Robbie Fletcher, is as pleased. Dr. Fletcher is going on his second year as Commissioner, so the ones of you who are returning got to work with him and meet him and talk to him and last year. But for those of you who are new and have not had that privilege, I will tell you a little bit about him. Before taking on the role of Commissioner, Dr. Fletcher already had 30 years of experience in education. He started out as a math teacher in Williamstown Independent. When he came here, right before he came here, he was superintendent at Lawrence County. Dr. Fletcher grew up in Martin County. He has degrees from Morehead State University and the University of Kentucky. And now I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Fletcher for the welcome and the overview of today's agenda. Dr. Fletcher?
Thank you, Ms. Turner. I really appreciate that, and thank you for the kind introduction. I was looking around the room, and I think I've either visited, there's only a couple of districts I haven't visited from the students here. Now, I may not have been in your school, but I think I've visited almost every district except maybe Grayson, and maybe I was looking at all the names, and I've been to Franklin County, but I haven't been in Western Hills per se. But I think I've been a part of each of the districts in here. I haven't been in Danville yet, so Mr. Kincaid, I sincerely apologize, but I'm getting there. I'm getting around to that. But again, it's been great. One of the best parts about being commissioner is the visits I get to make each and every day. Whether it be with school districts or in other places. I have seen everything from elementary schools where a teacher has designed a robotic hand as a prosthetic for a student, to medical offices that have been designed and sent to Liberia, Africa, to tiny houses that's been built in eastern Kentucky and sent to the West Coast, and the list goes on and on and on. And that's something I love. I think we're going to have the opportunity a little bit later to talk about vibrant learning in your districts, and be happy to hear about those. And I'll be able to share maybe a few more details of those stories as we go on. But the agenda for today, we will have our typical roll call and our typical approval and summary of the last meeting. We'll go through announcements, which I'll go through some other good pieces of good news I'll get to share with you. We do have our Mindful Minute, which is something I always look forward to with Dr. Searcy and also with Dr. Woods Tucker, who is our Deputy Commissioner here with us. Also, too, we'll have an opportunity to have some very important topics. First and foremost will be suicide prevention, and that'll be with our Division of Success, Blake Connie. And then next, one of the strategic part of our strategic plan is chronic absenteeism. And I'm happy to say we have dropped our chronic absenteeism rate over the past year, and we hope to do more of that as we move forward. But we'll talk a little bit about why attendance matters, and that'll be Lisa Henry and Ashley Gates from our Division of Student Support. Then our next will be some time to hear from you, and how do we go, how do we move forward with this group? And we want to go from, as it's titled here, from vision to action. We want to define objectives for the Student Advisory Council, and that'll be led by our strategic planning group here at the office with Karen Dodd and Susan Strange. And then we'll finish out with some roundtable discussions, and Ms. Turner will lead that, and she is our liaison here for the Student Advisory Council. And then, of course, we'll talk about next meeting and the adjournment. That being said, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Turner.
Okay, I'm going to call the roll. So if you would signify and say here if you're present. Let's see. Tasia Bosnet. Graham Borden. Annie O'Donnell. Delaney Crump. I think she's going to be a little late, so. Lillian Dare,
Here.
Vivian Fox, Manis Gala, Patrick Grabovi,
Here.
Preston Graham,
Here.
Sophie Johnson,
Here.
Charlie Kincaid, Abby Ladvey,
Here.
Seth Langford,
Here.
Gabriella McAdams,
Here.
Hadley Nicholas,
Here.
Lacey Page,
Here.
Tara Roskesh,
Here.
Daniel Ratley, Luisa Sanchez, Prisha Shaw,
Here.
Allie Medina, Eric Vidito.
Here.
Okay, I've emailed you the summary from the last meeting. Could we have a motion to approve the summary? Seth makes a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, is it Gabby?
Yeah,
Okay.
Gabriella.
Do you prefer Gabby or Gabriella?
Gabby's fine.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Fletcher, who's going to give us some announcements.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. I do have the opportunity to share some interesting pieces of information with each of you, and I'll start off by talking about one of our own here at the table. The National Association for School Boards of Education presented Distinguished Service Award to one of our own, Preston Graham. Last year, Preston served as a non-voting board member on the Kentucky Board of Education, and he did a great job. Very proud of the work and the input that he's given. And we're, yeah, there's a nice slide there. Look at that. Look at that guy. Preston did a wonderful job. Inside joke there, for those of you that may not know. But Preston is a senior at Woodford County High School, and he served on the Kentucky State Board from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And of course, he's a returning member here. While serving as a non-voting student member on the Board of Education, Preston connected with students across Kentucky, bringing their voices and experiences to board meetings and even to the Kentucky General Assembly. As a matter of fact, I attended a national event in Indianapolis, and we're getting ready to hear from a group of students, and somebody that popped up on the screen very first was Mr. Graham, and I did not expect that. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. But he did a great job representing us, did a wonderful job, and we want to thank him for his service. So again, congratulations to Preston, who was honored this week in Houston, as a matter of fact. So he's put some miles on this week, and so we're glad that he made it back for us today. So let's give him a round of applause. Congratulations, Preston. And along those same lines, to celebrate our students across the Commonwealth, we had 2 Kentucky students that were among 161 high school students named to the U.S. Presidential Scholars Group for 2025. Their accomplishments in academics and arts and careers and technical fields were above many others across the nation. Our first student, Maya K. Davis, is a student from Paul Lawrence Dunbar in Fayette County, and also Palmer M. Schmidt. And I'll struggle with this one a little bit because my former pastor was Paul Schmidt, so I want to say Paul every time I see this. But Palmer, I apologize every time I see that. But again, congratulations. He is from the Kraft Academy for Excellence in Science and Mathematics at Morehead State University. And some of you may be considering that in the future, that or Gatton. There's some great opportunities there for our students. Of the 3.9 million students that graduated from high school this year, more than 6,400 candidates qualified for the award. It's based on their performance on the SAT or ACT, and the nominations were made by their chief state officers. And we take those recommendations, and then we put them forward. And we want to congratulate Ms. Davis and Mr. Schmidt once again. Next slide, please. Oh, we skipped over one. I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about, I also had the opportunity to, one of the slides that's not on here deals with our Kentucky Teacher of the Year. And over the years, over these past 2 years, I have the opportunity to call 9 teachers each year to say, you're in the finals to be our middle school, high school, or elementary Teacher of the Year. For example, we have 3 that are in elementary that make it to the finals, 3 in middle and 3 in high school, and then there's a winner in each division, and then finally an overall winner. And I'll have to share this, and I won't share where it was from, but I did call, and I said, I called from the office here, from my cell phone actually, and said, hello, this is Dr. Robbie Fletcher, Commissioner of Education. And the first thing I hear is, shut up. No, ma'am, I promise I am the Commissioner of Education. And she said, okay. And so I talked a little bit longer. I said, I want to congratulate you. You're in the finals to be Teacher of the Year. And guess what I got again? Shut up. And I was like, no, ma'am. So when she came, she actually came to the ceremony and she introduced herself. I said, look, that was one of the most enjoyable conversations I've ever had because, one, it started with absolutely disbelief, and it actually ended in tears just because people thought so highly of her to nominate her. And across the board, when we do these Teacher of the Years, there's a lot of great stories. For example, I was watching Miss Gross, as we announce here, and I'll give a little bit more about her. I was watching her son, who is younger, and her husband. And when we announce the Teacher of the Year, we start off with a little bit of background information that not everyone in the room knows about. And you can see the first piece of information, and you see the little boy, and he looks up at his dad, and it looks like he said, I think that's Mom. A little bit more information, and then he starts telling, he said, that's Mom. And then by the end, he's crying, Dad's crying, and he said, that's Mom. And of course, the Lieutenant Governor is given the Teacher of the Year award. She doesn't look up because she says, Lieutenant Governor Coleman, she says she can't because she cries when she sees the kids. Now, of course, with being Teacher of the Year, you also get a 6-month sabbatical. So you come to serve here at the department, and you get to work with others. So if someone else that's in attendance is usually the superintendent. So I was watching over to the side the superintendent, and at first he's elated from Spencer County, Dr. Foster, and then you see this, wait a minute, what am I going to do for 6 months while one of my best teachers is gone? So it's great to see that kind of just be a part of that ceremony each year. But our first one here is Miss Michelle Gross. She's a mathematics teacher, and as you heard earlier, as a former mathematics teacher, that's kind of special to me. I taught everything from AP Calculus to 7th grade math and everything in between, actually. And she was named the 2026 Kentucky Teacher of the Year at our ceremony held here in Frankfort. She has 22 years of experience, including 20 years in Spencer County. We also honored others, including Miss Kara Byrne Dowdy. She's an English teacher in Mayfield High School. And we had a student that was from Mayfield last year. Anisha, I think, was on the group last year from Mayfield. But anyway, Miss Dowdy is from Mayfield, 21 years of service, and she was our Kentucky High School Teacher of the Year finalist. And then we also had Miss Melanie Howard, who works in special education with moderate and severe disability students at Corbin Primary School and at Corbin Independent. Again, with 21 years of experience. It seems like it's a 20-year minimum, it looks like, with this. But it's not. It's for anyone that can be nominated. I want to say we had over 700 teachers nominated this year. So it was a tough process for those people that were part of that. But we do want to congratulate all of our award winners, and especially the 3 ladies that are represented here on the slide. Next slide, please. Our next one deals with the SAT. For some of you, you've taken the ACT for the past few years, or for those of you who are seniors, this probably doesn't impact you quite as much as it does the others. You've taken the ACT. Many of your high schools and districts are giving the opportunity to retake the ACT this senior year. But this year, we're switching over to, for the juniors, and for those of you that follow, you'll be taking the SAT. And I get a lot of questions of, why did this happen, Dr. Fletcher? Essentially, back in the early 2000, I want to say 2008 or 9, it was written into law that Kentucky schools had to give the ACT. And it was actually the ACT was named in statute. Well, that gave us no room for bidding. This was the company, you had to choose them and move forward. A few years later, that was changed to just say we needed a college admissions exam. So around 2017-18, It changed over in the law, and we did a bidding process. And ACT won it and got the award, got the bid for 6 years. So at the end of that contract, we had to go through the bidding process again. SAT gave a bid of less than $350,000 per year in savings, but also there was 2 rubrics, one on cost and the other is on substance, and they also won the substance portion. Now, as you get to learn more about the SAT, you'll see that there's a lot of free resources for parents, a lot of free resources for students, and a lot of things that are aligned, a lot of content and curriculum that's aligned with Kentucky's content, our academic standards. It is an adaptive test. In other words, you take, for those of you who may have taken the SAT, and I think everybody's in the room has either taken probably MAP, START, or iReady. If you get a question correct, it gives you a little more difficult of a question, and then it adjusts. So it should be, overall, it will be a shorter test, but it is an adaptive test to kind of meet you where you are. There's also, it's a little bit different that there's an analysis of science score. You don't have a separate science test per se, but there will be passages and information within the reading and writing section and the math section that's based on science content. So you'll be able to get a science score from that area also too. And of course, the analysis of science score meets our statutory requirements. Another thing that your districts, and I hope that you'll receive some benefit from, there's not a set date. In other words, there's not one date in March where you have to take this exam. Your districts have a range, a 6-week testing window where they can select from March 2nd to April 10th, whatever works for the district, to give the exam. So you can schedule around your spring breaks or other things of that nature. So again, whatever works for the districts, you can schedule the day, and it'll be online, adaptive, and we'll be able to do that administration time. So it is a switch, but it's something we're very excited for. That being said, I have several other announcements I could give, but those are some of the highlights. And if there I'll stop for just a second. Any questions about anything that I shared so far? Anything at all? If not, I'll turn it over to Dr. Searcy and Dr. Tucker, who will handle our Mindful Minute.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Thomas.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
There you go. Thank you for being here. I know some of you have traveled far and wide to be here, so we're very appreciative that you are with us today. You arrived safely, and I know you'll make it back home, back to your school safely as well. So thank you for being here. I have the pleasure of assisting Dr. Searcy with our Mindful Minute and well-being. Many of you are familiar with this, except for those of you who are new to the council. Several years ago, when I came to the district, speaking of several years ago, it was 5 years ago today when I had the pleasure of joining the greatest Department of Education in all of the U.S. and the U.S. territories, the Kentucky Department of Education. So tomorrow starts my 6th year, and the first group of folks that I work with, other than the phenomenal staff here, was this group here, the Commissioner's Student Advisory Committee. And I tell you what, you all have not let me down whatsoever, so thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause for agreeing to serve. Dr. Searcy is not with us today, so it's left up to me to kind of carry the baton. So let's see how Dr. Tucker does today. Real quickly here, we began this, I think about 3 years ago, Commissioner, when we started to talk with our students, and we know we have some highly academically motivated scholars here. And so we really were not worried about the academic part. We were really, our students were really concerned about the social emotional part. And so 3 years ago, we decided to add this Mindful Minute piece here and well-being. And we know when we talk about this mindfulness and well-being, we're talking about being happy, we're talking about being aware, being present. So we want to make sure that you're always present and you're able to recenter yourself. So we're going to get kicked off with an activity. Normally we're all over the place, but we're going to do this very quickly today. We are a bit time bound. This is called a 4-corner activity. I want you to think about this. 1, do you rather go out to eat? 2, would you rather order in? 3, would you rather cook at home? Or 4, go to a barbecue or cookout? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to ponder one of those 4 things that you would rather do. And then by show of fingers, you raise your finger up for the corresponding item. And then I'll ask one or two volunteers to explain why you like to do that. Sounds good? Got it? Got it? We're going to give you 30 seconds to ponder. Okay, 30 seconds up. Okay, if you chose, let's see one. Those of you who selected go out to eat, let's raise your finger. You chose one. Okay. Get them up high. Come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay. All right, very good. Who would like to volunteer and say why you would like to go out to eat? And before you do that, I selected cook at home. And you probably say, Dr. Tucker, you don't look like a cook, but I love cooking at home. When I have an opportunity to cook for my families and friends, I cook at home. It's just enjoyable. It brings that family connection. So who selected go out to eat? Have a volunteer? Now I saw about 4 fingers. Okay, is it Manus? Manus, tell us.
I just said it because I felt like it was the easiest one. Like if you're with a group of people, you have the most opportunity to talk to the people. If you're ordering in, you're kind of just at home. If you're cooking if I'm cooking at home, I'm stressed out, so I'm not gonna be talking much. And then I don't know, barbecue is just a lot of clamor, I guess. So just sitting like across from someone face to face, talking to them, I think is the best option for that.
Very good. Manus, what's your favorite go-to dinner when you're going out to eat?
I don't know. That's no.
Sounds like me. We'll eat anything, right? Anything. Okay, now let's move on to order in. Who likes to order in, have that food brought in? Yes? And I'm sorry, your name? Precia? Okay, Precia. Order in. Why?
Well, I think that a cookout and going out to eat is very social, and especially for dinner after having like a long day of work and stuff, you just kind of want to unwind, be by yourself, gather your thoughts. And cooking is stressful and a lot of work, so I'd rather just be in bed, maybe watch a movie and order in.
So what's your favorite order in food?
Maybe tacos.
Tacos, okay. Like Taco Tuesday. Did you get tacos on Tuesday? Okay, 3, cook at home. Okay, I saw, is it Lillian? No, next.
I'm Seth.
Seth. Okay, Seth. Okay.
I really like to cook at home because it is like a tradition with me and my dad. Every holiday we make the food. Every night we make the food. It's more about family and trying new things and that bonding experience when you cook together.
Okay, very good. Seth, what's your favorite dish to cook at home?
I make homemade meatballs every Tuesday. They're the best.
Okay, very good. Any particular meat with your meatballs?
Chicken.
Chicken meatballs. Okay.
Sauce, all right, I gotta ask sauce.
Yeah, we do.
What, spicy or?
Spicy. We don't eat anything bland.
Oh, there you go. Very good, very good. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate it. And go to a barbecue or cookout. Okay, yes, is it
It's
Patrick,
yes.
not Preston, but Patrick?
I said the cookout because I like being social and I actually enjoy different perspectives. And so going to a cookout, it's not just your family, it's not just your friends. You see so many people that you might not interact with like on a daily basis. And so you get to like catch up with them and also like eat really good food.
Okay. Now, Patrick, what do you take to the cookout?
What do I take?
Yeah.
Probably like salads, like potato salads, like one of those. Wait, take like bring. to the-
Okay, yeah.
Let me think. What else? I make some good. What is it? Pulled pork.
Okay,
In the
ooh.
slow cooker,
Very good.
and so I would bring that as well.
Okay, we're gonna have a cook-off sometime. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your active participation. Next slide, please. This exercise is called Grounding Moment in Journaling. I want to thank the Communications Department for providing each of you a pen and a journal. And so what I want you to do, you can do one or two things. You can make a note to your younger self. Journal a special note to your younger self. You may want to include things you wish you knew, something not to stress about or advice on school or anything, but just something, not something that really to stress about. Or what is something you're excited about for this school year? Something that you're worried about. And Mr. Turner, can you click it one more time? We can get all the messaging on that slide. Again, journal a special note to your younger self. And this is a special note to your younger self in which you may want to include things you wish you knew, something not to stress about or advice on school life or anything like that. Or what is something you're excited about this school year, something that you're probably concerned about. We're going to give you 2 minutes and 2 seconds. We'll be back with you in 2 minutes and 2 seconds. 2 and 2. Wrap up in about 20 seconds. So. I see most of the ink pens are down, and this is an exercise that you can continue at home or at school when you have time, or something you can just do on the weekends. It's a great activity to stop and ground yourself in the moment. Again, this is about being mindful. Do we have a couple volunteers, a couple folks who would like to share? Yes, Commissioner?
I have a note to younger self, and I try to give this advice to students all the time. It's to slow down and make moments, make memories to register, because sometimes we're in such a hurry to get to one place to the other. You know, we're whether it be maybe it's a soccer game, or maybe it's a basketball game, or maybe it's the academic team. Just try to, when you have the opportunity to just stop and really register the memory and kind of just, what happened today, what went on, because, as we went through, there's so many times in my life until too far along that I would rush through. And you really didn't take time to enjoy the moment and to register, if you will, register that memory as you go through. So again, if I could have a note to younger self, especially in high school, I have some memories, of course, as I'm 21 years old. Just taking that time to register more, maybe even writing about those memories as I go through life. So I think a journal would have been something that would have been great for me, especially through middle school, high school, and of course throughout my career. Just stopping, making the memory, enjoying what's going on around you, and taking a note, just a simple note of this is what happened today and what made it special.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner, for sharing that wonderful perspective. Anyone else? I see Seth is want to volunteer again. Well, let's see what Seth has to say.
I wrote a note to my younger self, and mostly I wish that I knew that if I wanted to achieve something, that I should reach for it instead of worrying about it, and that being nervous about what you can or can't do will never get you anywhere. And I wish younger me had a little more confidence and went for their dreams.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. And again, this is one of the benefits of this mindfulness and well-being. We'll have an opportunity throughout the year, either when we come in person or virtually, to explore more of those types of things. Anyone else? Anyone else? Sometimes Dr. Tucker's been known for choosing folks, if you will. So, yeah, who we have there? Graham? Yes,
Okay.
Graham. There you go, Graham.
I
Is it
wrote
Graham?
down-
Is it Graham?
It is Graham.
Okay, thank you.
I did the second prompt. Something I'm excited about. I'm really excited to be done with college applications because they're like kind of consuming my life right now. So I'm excited to be done with those and just like see where I land and just see like what's ahead for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. I see Gabby shaking her. It seems like she's a little happy to be done with college applications.
Yeah, it's more so like the honors applications. The essays aren't long, but you have to think.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next exercise. Mrs. Turner, we're probably a little pressed for time, but I do want to introduce this exercise, and we'll pick it up the next time, okay? I have a mindfulness coach. And as the commissioner said, if you stop and just think and journal and reflect on being in the present and reflect on things around you, it really makes your life a lot better, more manageable. I came across this video. In fact, Dr. Searcy shared this video with me. It's called Mindful Stretching Break. It is phenomenal. We don't have time to jump into it today, but what we will do, it's about 5.5 minutes long. When we come back the next time, we'll take a look at this video, and if you all want to take a sneak peek at it later on, please do. It'll give you some great exercises as you get ready, as the commissioner said, to take your SAT or ACT or whatever exam, a great exercise to engage in prior to testing. So we'll go on to the last slide and wrap up. And what I want to do, I want to leave you all with a quote. Yeah, I want to leave you with a quote from Tony Stark, one of the Marvel Comics heroes. And what he says is, it's not about saving the world, it's about making it better. And how we've made it better, and how the commissioner and our great colleagues who've helped to lead the Kentucky Department of Education, you're going to hear from my colleagues coming up next, they want your voice. They really want to hear from you. And so never underestimate the power of your voice. The world needs your ideas, your courage, and your leadership. Thank you, and we'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Dr. Tucker. So much. I will add talk a little bit about not underestimating your voice. Last year, around this time, we discussed the new accountability model proposal, and we're putting together that proposal now as far as from a bill standpoint, but we took some advice from the Student Advisory Council and included it in the work for our accountability proposal, not just assessment and testing, but we talked about local accountability. We talked about vibrant learning. That some of the input that you gave us last year is going to be is a part of our proposal now and for the General Assembly. So know that what input that you have, we listen. We take that advice and try to put it into policy and put it into action. So it's so important that if there's something burning on your heart and mind, let us know. And we're looking forward to this day and as we move forward too. So I'll turn it over to Blake, and he'll help us out with our next presentation.
All right. Well, again, thanks for having me here, and thank you for all of you being willing to give up your day of school. I know you'd much rather be learning math and language arts than being here today. So, so like the commissioner said, my name is Blake Connie, and I get to work here under our school safety branch. And so what I do is I work to make sure students are safe and healthy in terms of suicide prevention, bullying prevention, and other mental health supports. With that said, today the discussion is on suicide prevention. So if this is a topic that you just don't have the capacity to be a part of right now, that's totally acceptable. We all have ups and downs, and we all have different life experiences. So if you need at any point, like now or as we're talking, to step outside, you are welcome to do so. Again, this is a pretty broad topic, and I just want to get your input and share a little bit of things that we're doing here. And maybe, spark some ideas that you all can move forward with is really kind of the goal for me today. So with that said, if you all could just take a look up at the screens. So we've got, this is a kind of a common parable or idea we use in prevention or community health. And so the idea is that we live our life along this stream. And if you want to think about this stream as almost like a level of stress, none of us can live a life without stress. In fact, research shows that having stress in our lives is actually beneficial to us. It helps us to get those college applications in. It helps us to prepare for athletics or academics. It helps us to prepare for job interviews and things like that. So having a level of stress is vital to helping us grow to be our best selves and at a rate that we couldn't do without that. With that said, I'm going to ask you all, what are some common stressors you would expect to hear from your classmates or other high schoolers throughout our state? You can just start yelling them out if you want at me. So what are the most common stressors do you think we hear and that you all experience?
Like family situations.
Family situations, yeah, great, thanks.
Finals week.
Finals.
We're on trimesters, so it's finals week right now.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
finals week, whenever that is, 3 times a year for you, yeah.
I'd say like managing a part-time job with school.
Okay, yeah, so that time management thing, yeah, so whether it's a job or in school.
I mean, I know a lot of seniors, especially seniors and juniors, worry about ACT or SAT scores when they're mid-application season.
Yeah, yes, okay, so college application, but more important, like your specifically ACT or now SAT scores. That's it?
Sports.
Sports, okay, there you go, athletics, yeah. What about like family? We kind of mentioned that a little bit. Friends, relationships. Are any of those things bad? No, but they all bring a level of stress to our lives. All right, so I want you all to take just 30 seconds, real quick, and I want you to think about yourself. So personally, what do you do when you're experiencing a stressful time? What do you turn to? So think about that just for a second on a personal level. You're having a hard day at school or something stressful happens. What do you do to alleviate that stress? Think about it, and then I'm going to have some of y'all share out. All right, so what do you do when you are having a stressful day? How do you deal with that? Yeah,
I said that I exercise.
exercise,
or
great.
swim, sports.
Yeah, that's great. Exercise.
Like I'll go shopping.
Shopping, yes, okay, yeah, that works. Yeah, therapy right there.
I usually go to like a park and try to just walk around something outdoors.
I love it. Yeah, so kind of exercise, but also just being outdoors, definitely.
I either like to embroider or I play Mario Kart on my Wii.
Embroider or Mario Kart? Is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah.
I like talking to my friends and family about it, just like not keeping it all in and expressing some of my feelings out.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Take 2 more.
I just like take a break, just sit down, think about what I need to do, and just collect my thoughts.
Oh, excellent. Great strategy. 1 more.
I go to sleep.
Yes, okay. Yeah, you can sleep. That's perfect. Yeah, so all those are great answers. So on an individual level, you all can identify things that you may do to kind of deal with that stress. And so those things are all awesome. So we're talking about kind of that upstream prevention. So we are in that river. We all live in that river. We all have just normal levels of stress, okay? And sometimes that stress builds up. And at that point, we need to do something about it. And so you all have great strategies that you all shared. And then I want to talk about sometimes that stress can, again, build up to have a negative impact, or there's just a life event, or maybe a mental health diagnosis that pushes us towards that waterfall. So we start, at times in life, we may get in the rapids. So those would be areas or times that we might need help. And so I'm not going to ask you individually questions on that right now, but I'm going to turn to the next slide, please. All right, so you all did a really good job thinking about an individual basis. And so, great, you have great strategies, you guys have plans, you know how to manage that for yourselves. And I loved all the answers, from playing video games, taking a nap, exercise, being outside, shopping. That's a fun one too. So there's really no wrong way. As long as it helps you, it helps you manage your stress. But I want to talk about as a community. When I talk about a community, for you all, I'm typically talking about our schools. So if you could actually add a few more questions up there. So what supports do your school and your community have in place for prevention? So we're talking about prevention, which is that, again, that upstream. Is there anything that your schools or communities have that help you manage the day-to-day stressors? Yeah.
We have a school counselor, but I will bring up that like we only have one for about 1,000 students, and that's like studies have shown that like you need more of a diverse ratio, and so that's kind of, it makes it kind of difficult for people in my school system to get counseling when you only have like literally one certified counselor for 1,000 students.
Wow, yeah.
But that's what we have as our main prevention and intervention.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and counselors can definitely be prevention. Yeah, so that a lot of times, you know, when they're there for that intervention piece often. So once people start to experience kind of that negative side of stress or life experiences, they may turn to that counselor in the school. Yeah.
My school is the opposite. Like my graduating class is going to be 52. I'd say our teachers, since we have such a little amount of students, they're amazing because you get to talk to them so much and they just share advice all the time, and I think they really help.
That's awesome. Thank you. Is there anything else you can think of school-wide that like everybody in your school community has access to? And before we talk about intervention, so when they're struggling, just is there any type of prevention that you can think of your schools are doing to make sure everyone knows, you know, what those strengths are? Seth, is it you?
Yeah. We have a sensory room, so if any students are feeling overwhelmed by their environment, they're allowed to just sit in there and calm down. There are fidget toys in there, and it's low sensory, so you can just take that break when you need it.
All right, very cool. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to shift a little bit towards intervention. Can you all think of any like interventions that your schools or communities have in place that when you or someone around you is struggling and maybe experiencing a crisis, are you aware of the interventions that your school has in place for those? And you mentioned school counselor, so that's definitely one.
We have like the hotline posters like, with the number posted all over the school.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. 988. Excellent. I actually brought those for you all today too. Okay.
We have.
Oh, sorry.
She can.
It's Mike, so I don't know where it's coming from.
We have a specific counseling group for people who are struggling. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, if you're having a challenging situation, our counselor directs you to like a sort of mini community within the school to talk about your problems.
I love that. So they have a group community within the school.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
We have like assemblies to remind people that if they're struggling with something, there's lots of people to help. And last year there was an unfortunate situation where someone in my grade committed suicide. So after that, there was a lot of support from teachers just saying how like this isn't okay and like it shouldn't happen, and if you feel like it, you should come talk to us and stuff like that.
I'm sorry that your community experienced that. Next question I want to ask. Actually, before I get to this question, I want to say that so suicidal ideation. So when I say that term, I'm talking about thinking about suicide. Is a really common experience for adolescents and young adults. Kentucky survey, so the CDC does the Youth Risk Behavior Survey every 2 years, typically. The most recent data we have is from 2023. And 18% of high schoolers reported that they've seriously considered suicide in the last 12 months. And that is a really alarming statistic. At the same time, I want to emphasize the strength in that. And that is that it is a common experience for high school age youth to have thoughts of suicide. Now, the rates of attempts and those who die by suicide is much lower, which indicates that there's a lot of help that can be offered in that time. There's a lot of strength and intervention that we can use to intercept that and to support those who are struggling. Also, that number can open up the door to say, you know, this is a common experience for many of those around us, and so how do we make sure we connect everybody around us to, you know, a message of hope, help, and strength, or how do we connect them to resources that are available? So with that said, I want to say, what are some of the barriers that you all see in your school communities that would limit the ability of your peers or yourself to connect to resources when you need it? I know that number of counselors you mentioned is definitely one. Yeah.
I know in our school, it's like the kids really, it's the like notion from the other students that you're like weak or like aren't as strong as like the other kids because you maybe need to go talk to somebody or you have to call somebody. So I feel like it's not like that there's anything in the way. It's just that the other students is like the judgment and like the fear of being like exiled because you need help that gets in the way.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I feel that the kids do not trust their counselors, and this is something that I know from personal experience and from people I know at school, that our counselors, we can't have faith in them, and they use CPS or they use calling a trusted adult in your life as a threat instead of using it as a support. Kids don't feel safe talking to them, and I feel that if we ever want to prevent more suicides in Kentucky, we have to start with the people who are supposed to be helping them and instead are hurting them.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
I will say I do have counselors in my school as well, but they have such a heavy workload they are responsible for helping students with college applications, test scores, dual credit courses, schedule changes, that they're really not focused on the mental health aspect of being a counselor and what that looks like. I've come to my counselors multiple times with issues about bullying, and they'll brush it off and say, well, they're just jealous of you. That sucks. So I hope you can get over it. We can't change your classes. We can't offer you any mental health resources, but look on the bright side. You're doing well in life, so you'll be out of here pretty soon. And that kind of sucks to deal with. And knowing that there's other students that have to deal with those same things and they're offered no help as well, it's very stressful.
So that brings up an interesting question. So basically, at your schools, we have school counselors, which are those that are, you know, typically former teachers that go through counseling programs, and their focus often is, you know, academic as well as some of those emotional supports as well. But, you know, we know with time and effort, like most of it kind of goes towards the academic side of things. Are there counselors or mental health therapists? Are there mental health counselors or mental health therapists available in your school? Just show of hands if yes, there are. So I'm about 2/3. It's great. Thanks.
My school had a mental health counselor, but they recently let him go because they felt that there wasn't enough demand for his position, I believe. So now the school counselors, I believe, are expected to take on the mental health counseling part as well.
Which is interesting. So maybe that students just weren't taking advantage of that counselor because of some of the stigmas that you all kind of mentioned already. Yeah. Okay. So I want to, if you go to the next question, sorry. Are there anything, so the question I have is, what else can we do? What can you all with voice and influence and sway, you know, what can we do to help reduce the access or barriers that stand in the way, as well as what can we do to ensure there's more help available? Yeah.
I think one thing that we can do, especially with the legislative session coming up, with like budget funds and everything, is make sure that we are talking to our representatives and letting them know that we want more funding for mental health resources, because that's one of the main barriers that is creating the barrier of a lack of mental health counselors. So with that legislative session coming up in our Commonwealth, it is vital for us as as citizens to be able to talk to our representatives, talk to our senators, and make sure that they know that this is something that matters to us and that is something that should receive more funding.
I love that idea. Thank
And
you.
to add on to that, it's also speaking to people inside your schools and making sure, like maybe creating some of those student groups or clubs. Like I know my school has sources of strength. I'm not sure if everybody does, but I know that group like really helps. Just they have presentations maybe monthly and just go around to classes. We recently did like a little survey and it's posted around the school. Like we have it right when all the students walk in the front office. So I think just creating some of those clubs in all the schools possible would really help a lot of students.
Thank you for sharing that.
I also think that it would be very interesting to see the divide of the students who do consider, suicide, and maybe if, say, a large portion of them are English language learners, or they have other situations in the classroom, implementing some resources into those classes, where you do say, for example, in an English class, like, hey, if you ever have any trouble, here's a resource, and adapted kind of to their situation because it might not be that case right now.
So target kind of those resources to the most needed areas.
I think as teenagers, we're very friend oriented. So my school, for example, has Hope Squad, and that's just like a designated people of like students in the school whose job it is to like look around to see if there's bullying happening or just if somebody's feeling like down, and they try to intervene with it, and if it gets serious then they like contact a teacher or something. So with people like that, I feel like compared to parents or counselors, they're easier to talk to because they're your peers and you relate to them more. So I feel like having something like that more in other schools would be beneficial.
Hope Squad. I've not heard of that. That's cool. Okay. Yeah.
I think also making sure that counselors are known, because I could imagine with a larger school that counselors probably haven't met every single child in every single grade. I know with my counselor, she's very good at just letting someone walk into her classroom without a note or anything. I think, and also with the assemblies, I think just knowing who your counselor is itself will help erase some of the stigma surrounding it, because I don't think it's easy to talk to someone you've never met.
I just feel like a lot of the resources that schools have aren't very well known. I feel like if somebody's in the place that they're thinking about committing suicide or just in a bad place in general, they're not going to want to walk up and ask where these resources are. I think if we made it more well known where they are before or even during, where we're not directly telling one person and everybody knows and it's just a known fact, that would help people a lot.
It's great. Yeah. It's a really good example. All right, we'll take maybe one more over here.
Something at my school, like we have a study hall, and 2 days a week, it's like required that like the teachers give some sort of like life lesson presentation. So I think the fact that like it's built into our schedule and like we can't not go to it reduces the stigma, because a kid doesn't have to go out of their way to get the help. Like it's not gonna hurt someone if they don't need the help and they're getting the help. Like it's not hurting them. So I think providing it to everyone on a regular basis will reduce the stigma of having to like be different than your peers.
That's a really great answer. I like that. It's probably like SEL curriculum. They're too, like
Maybe.
social emotional learning. They're doing in that time. Okay. I really like you guys touched on a lot of really important ways that help is made unavailable, whether intentionally or accessible, or even just a knowledge of what's available to us. I think is super important. So I want to, if you can go to the next slide. There we go. I want to just kind of encourage a couple things. So first off, somebody mentioned that with Hope Squad that we listen to our peers, and absolutely. So I'm not. You are not really necessarily like the target audience. We want to figure out ways to get this into every school, not just the 20 that are represented here. But we want to figure out ways to harness the power and the influence and sway of your peers to support each other. So that's one of the goals that I have in my current role. And we do that through what I call like a positive contagion. So we know that behaviors and attitudes and the things that we do are contagious. So if I said 6, 7, how many of you right now are fighting the urge to do that, right? Yes, thank you. So we know things are contagious. We know that whether they make sense or don't make sense, whatever they might be, we know that the behaviors that we do, especially in our youth, have an impact on others. And some of those behaviors are negative, some of them are neutral, but a lot of them could be positive. And so I want to encourage just you all as individuals, but then figure out, this might give you an idea to take back. When we talk about the things that we use, so you all shared some of the strengths that you all have, the things that you all use when you are starting to feel stress. We know that if we share those things with others around us who may be experiencing stress, it increases the likelihood that they'll take advantage of them. So, saying, hey, like I talked to the counselor here at school when I'm dealing with this, and it might be a small issue, I had a problem with my locker, so I went and saw her, and she was super helpful. Sharing with your friends and peers around you, that you trust adults or that you can get help from these adults, increases the likelihood that they will take advantage of those adults when they need help. Talking about the things that you turn to, whether it's shopping or crocheting, helps others to connect with the strengths they have to say, oh yeah, that's something I can do when I'm under stress. That's cool. I love the one talking with friends and just having that, or having a dialogue when you're feeling stressed. Again, if we share those and we talk about those and we normalize those help-seeking activities, we are more likely for those around us to get help when they need it. Ultimately, I would love to see mental health treated exactly the same as physical health. And so that would alleviate a lot of the stigmas and the kind of fear that people have when reaching out for help. When somebody hurts their leg, we don't think twice that they went to a doctor. You know what I mean? It's like, of course you went to a doctor, like your leg hurts. But when we see somebody in emotional pain, we often treat it differently. We don't, ask them how they're doing. We don't make a recommendation. Hey, like I've been in pain before too. I spoke to our counselor. It was really helpful to me. Hey, there's counselors available. Let me connect you with them. So there's a lot that we can do to, as in your age bracket, to share with others around you that hope and help is available and who those resources are. So again, I want to encourage you all to think about, as a system, how can we do that? How can we make sure that everybody in your school is connected to resources, knows what the resources are, and is not afraid or doesn't feel a boundary to take advantage of those. Some of the initiatives I'm put on the slides here, but some of the initiatives that we have in our state, so Code Red is one of the trainings that takes place. So Kentucky now requires that twice a year students go through suicide prevention training. So that happens in September and typically again in January. And those resources are great, and they talk about when someone is struggling or when someone is really kind of at that in those rapids or at a mental health crisis, what the resources that are available. I also want to encourage us to be upstream more than that. So the real work happens when we are upstream and we're just dealing with life's ups and downs. If we support each other and we support ourselves in those, we are more prepared when those rapids come. Sources of strength, which I love that you mentioned already. Anybody here, who else here has a source of strength program at your school? All right, awesome. Okay, I think I've been to your school. Yeah, I know you too, yeah. So yeah, I do that. So that's one of the things I do in my job. It's probably my favorite part of my career right now is I go to schools and train students to support each other and to get the message of hope, help, and strength in their community. It's an incredible program. It's peer-led, which means that we train students. We don't train adults to do the work, and that's awesome. And so this last Friday, we had a peer leader summit in Lexington. We had over 250 youth from around the state. We had 12 different schools send students to it, so they can learn from each other and kind of talk about what they're doing and what's successful. And it was probably my favorite day I've had in the last 5 years here in my current role. So sources of strength, if you don't have a program at your school, reach out to me and I can help you. There's a grant that funds it completely. So for secondary schools, we have ways to get it paid for. So all we do is we show up and we train y'all and you take it from there. QPR is a suicide prevention training that really talks about how to connect those with resources when they're struggling, how to ask the right questions, how to connect them to resources. And then the last one is mental health first aid, which is something that we train adults who work with youth how to look for signs of struggle, not even necessarily signs of suicide, but just when someone is going through a change. It shows up in their appearance, their attitude, or their behavior. And so how do we step into those situations? Okay. And Rosin, you can go to the next slide. I think it should just be my contact information. Oh, actually, before I leave, whenever I'm training, whenever I'm talking about mental health, I always just want to remind everyone that 988 is available for all of us. So adults, youth, friends, family, it doesn't matter. 988 is a safety net that we all can take advantage of. So if you yourself, any one of us, is thinking about suicide or just really overwhelmed and not really sure who to turn to, 988 is there for us. You can call or text 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get connected to resources that are local. They can also just kind of ask the right questions and give advice. So if you call on behalf of a friend or you text on behalf of a friend because you're not really sure how to support them, they can give you advice on supporting your friend. So it is just an incredible resource, and the more people that know about it, the more people that take advantage of it, the safer and healthier our schools and communities will be. And that's one of the goals I have in my role. So I did bring 988 magnets. You can put them on your car, your locker, anywhere. I will leave these here because, again, the more we get that information out, the safer and healthier our communities are going to be. So, again, want to remind you of that. And here's my contact information. So feel free if you have any questions, if there's a way that I can support you or your school or school system in any of those trainings that came up, I am happy to do so. Again, I'm going to put a plug in for Sources of Strength because it truly is a remarkable program. Research done last year showed that schools that have Sources of Strength programs had a 29% reduction in first-time suicide attempts in their school body. So really an incredible program. It's research-based, evidence-based, and any community, any family that's experienced suicide knows how devastating it is. And while we can't turn back the hands of time, we can make sure that moving forward, we do better and we support each other more and we make sure those that need it have the resources available to them. So that's everything. So again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys kind of just discussing this topic because it's big and it's important. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. As we close out this conversation on suicide prevention, I am very thankful. I've seen a lot of districts that really focus on the relationships. If you see a peer that's sitting by themselves, you see someone that's in the hallway that maybe just look like they're having a hard day, just a kind word makes a difference. Also, too, we have a lot of districts that are recognizing the workload of our counselors. And they're beginning to create other positions to take off the workload to allow counselors to be counselors. So I'm thankful for that, too. Also, too, we have a lot of districts that have taken on a program such as, I'll use a program like Terrace Metrics, where students take surveys a couple of times a year, and these are anonymous. The information goes back to the counselor alone, and then the counselor, if there's issues, they're able to, I'll say that we implemented that at Lawrence County. And I can't tell you how many times that our parents and our kids were like, thank you, when we started making calls home when there's issues, because sometimes parents would say, I didn't know. I didn't know. Also, too, as someone that has been impacted by suicide directly, what follows after is a huge fallout. And there's grief and there's struggles. And if any of you in the room or your parents or anybody in your family needs somebody just to listen to that's gone through that, you're welcome to call me. I don't have answers, but I do have an ear. So this is a tough topic for me. So that being said, it's never overlook it. Never overlook it. Now, with that being said, we'll go on to attendance matters, and we'll talk about our addressing chronic absenteeism, where we thank Ms. Lisa Henry and also Ashley Gates for being here with us today.
Thank you. So real quick, if we don't mind, y'all need just a quick stand break, you feel me? We're gonna stand as we introduce ourselves. You can stand if you want, but if you're like, girl, please stop, I'm staying seated, you can stay seated, but we just wanted to kind of get a little blood flowing, if you will. But as you all are standing up, we'll just do quick introductions to honor everybody's time. First and foremost, thank you so much for having us. You can stretch if you want to. You can shake it out. Sorry, I got a little neurospiciness, so I always like to kind of just get it out before you all have to deal with it. You know what I mean? My name's Ashley Gates. I am part of our Persistence to Graduation team. We are 4 women strong. Please, can I get an amen? And so our work focuses on dropout prevention efforts, re-engagement, chronic absenteeism, data tools, anything and everything to try and figure out how to, yeah, you can sit once you've had your little stretch break, you're good. But anything that impacts students, families, communities, and re-engaging them in the school environment. And so I come to you, I'll finally sit down now, from a decade of experience with at-risk and opportunity youth. I've spent all of my time in the classroom with special populations. I'm a speducator at heart. And so just wanted to offer the perspective and the lens that I operate through when we're talking about addressing chronic absenteeism and some of the awesome things that we're doing as a state agency and that we're seeing our communities do.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Henry. And Ashley and I have joined KDE back in the winter, and we talk often about the one thing that we miss is being around students and hearing voices, hearing what you're experiencing in your schools and your communities and across the country. My background was also as a classroom educator. I spent over 20 years teaching both in Kentucky and Ohio. I started my career just south of Louisville in Bullitt and Meade County. Then life took me to Cleveland, where I worked as an intervention specialist at an inner city school there. And then I moved back to Kentucky in 2012 and worked with at-risk students at an alternative program in Fayette County, and primarily taught high school English, juniors and seniors, and also taught an elective on Holocaust and genocide studies. So again, we love working with youth. And before we start talking about our presentation, we like to know who's in the room. So we're going to ask you just to say your name, what school you're from, and what's your favorite class that you've ever had. So for me, it was shop in middle school because I loved woodworking, and I loved not being behind the desk. So let's start with you.
My name's Prisha.
What school you're from?
I go to Ryle, and my favorite class is probably Human Body Systems.
I'm Sophie Johnston. I'm from Morgan County High School, and my favorite class is right now CAD 2.
My name is Lacey Page. I go to Christian County High School, and my favorite class was AP Psychology.
My name is Patrick Grabovia. I go to North Oldham High School, and my favorite class was my personal finance class.
My name is Preston Graham. I go to Woodford. My favorite class was probably AP Environmental Science because there was 4 of us, and it was taught in the closet.
My name is Daniel Ratley. I'm from Grayson County, and my favorite class was AP Language.
Robbie Fletcher, class of 1992 at Sheldon Clark High School in Elm Martin County. And my favorite class was AP Calculus.
I'm Austin Vidito. I go to Brown and AP World. I would say it's my favorite.
I'm Delaney Crump. I go to Boyd County High School, and my favorite class is AP Chemistry.
I'm Mona Scarla. I go to Western Hills here in Frankfurt, and my favorite class was probably either of my AP Economics classes.
My name is Tejas Basnith. I go to Paul Ernst Dunbar High School, and my favorite class is probably AP Biology.
My name is Charlie Kincaid, and I go to Danville High School, and my favorite class is probably AP Gov.
I'm Luisa Sanchez. I go to Bow County High School. I'm a senior, and my favorite classes are the AP Histories.
Hi, my name is Seth Langford. I also go to Brown School in Jefferson County, and my favorite class has been AP English Lit.
My name is Lillian Dar. I go to school in Muhlenberg County, and my favorite classes are anything ag classes.
Hi, my name is Amy O'Donnell. I'm from the Kentucky School for the Deaf, and I love all of my special history.
My name is Dara Rakesh, and I go to Cooper High School, and my favorite class was AP Biology.
My name is Gabriella McAdams. I go to school in Grant County at Williamstown Independent, and my favorite class was Spanish.
My name is Graham Borden. I go to Highlands High School, and my favorite class was AP Research.
My name is Abigail Loudwig. I go to Owensboro High School, and my favorite class was either AP Environmental or AP Biology.
My name is Vivian Fox. I go to Eton High School, and my favorite class is probably Principles of Health Science. My name is Hadley Nicholas. I go to Martha Lane Collins, and my favorite class is probably Spanish.
I'm Ashley Gates. I am class of 2008 John Adams High School proud, Northern Indiana. And my favorite class was PE. I'm not gonna lie, I took it all 4 years. They developed new things for our group. You feel me? Like, they adapt
And I was class of 1995 at Boone County High School. And again, I said woodshop. This is my favorite class in middle school, but in high school, probably my favorite class was AP Psychology.
Next slide, please. All right, so we have been hearing, and everybody at this point, chronic absenteeism isn't just something that's a ghost or something that's yet to be discovered. It is a symptom of disengagement, disconnection. And so we just wanted to kind of give a quick overview if you didn't know what it actually means. Essentially, it's 10%, missing 10% or more of your school day. And here in Kentucky, we determine that by instructional minutes. So instead of the amount of days, it's how much actual learning is being lost. And we're talking, it includes everything missed. So you're excused, you're unexcused, your tardies, suspensions, doctor's notes, all of those things. And it's not so much the punitive aspect, like, oh, you're chronically absent. It's that indicator of something else is going on, right? And so, next slide, please.
If I could add,
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
times we get this confused with truancy. Truancy is unexcused absences. That's where you get into the legal aspect. Chronic absenteeism is just an indicator of how much time you're missing. So there's nothing as far as a legal punishment of any sort or any type of intervention. Well, there is intervention, but nothing like that. So it's two different topics. There's truancy, I think is 7 days or more than 6 days of your habitual truants at a certain time, then you're truant after 3 days, habitually truant after 6 days, and then from that nature too. So it's a little bit different from truancy. So you could miss 20 days. If they're all excused by a physician, then you technically have no truancy issues, but you do have chronic absenteeism issues. So just a little bit of a distinction there.
And so what we are seeing is chronic absenteeism, again, isn't something new. We're just seeing higher rates of it now. And so if you look at this graph, I'm a visual person. So prior to the pandemic, we saw 18% over those first couple of school years. And then obviously we know that our data collection was a little interrupted, if you will, or hijacked, as I like to say, by any and all things that were happening, right? We were trying to figure out our new norms, how to navigate attendance, how to navigate learning, connection. And so that's where you see those data collection interruptions. And then that first official school year, that 21-22, we were at a rate of 27%. And then we increased in the 22-23 to 30, but we have dropped since then, and again are looking at another couple percentage points dropping for this previous year. Next slide, please.
So this slide will show you what the chronic absentee rates look like in surrounding states. And we are seeing the trends that everybody is going downward. Indiana did have an increase in the 23-24 school year, but they also calculate absenteeism rates for all schools in their state, including private and charter schools. So it's a little different. Again, our absences are calculated by time. So we don't compare like state to state, but we just want to see that the trend is that we are all decreasing. Next slide, please. This graph will show you, or these graphs show you what chronic absenteeism looked like in our state. So the top left graph is prior to the pandemic. The districts and the different shades of blue are the districts that were having high chronic absenteeism rates. The graph below that, it was post-pandemic in the 22-23 school year. And then you see in the 23-24 school year, some districts improved, others became darker. And we know a lot of those factors can include natural disasters that a lot of our Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky counties face, better collection of data. So we are with our work, we're trying to help target districts that are really struggling with chronic absenteeism and going in and helping them with what is it that you do to engage students that make them want to be at your school? How do you connect with them? Next slide, please.
And so this is just a refresh of previous slides, but the big part of this is I want you to see the decrease on the fiscal year, the 25-26. So we partner with Attendance Works. They're one of our main partners in just helping develop different toolkits, any and all things attendance intervention related. But their goal is that states and districts need to start setting those ambitious goals of let's cut this in half. And so our commissioner is extremely ambitious and has set our goal for reducing chronic absence by 50% over the next 5 years. So by the end of that 28-29 year, we want to see our rates at 15%. And again, chronic absenteeism isn't a punitive, it's like, oh, you're chronically absent. No, it's indicating something else is happening, right? There's some sort of barrier, contributing factor, something else that's going on. Next slide, please.
And we don't want you guys to like stress, right? Because you probably heard like excused and unexcused absences all count together. My son graduated from high school a couple years ago from Tates Creek High School in Lexington, and he missed probably every Friday for 2 months because he played hockey. And you can't play hockey really in Kentucky, you got to travel, right? So you guys are all probably very active in your schools and your communities, and you're missing school today, right?
No, technically, they're not.
Well, thank you. So it's an
Technically, they're not.
excuse.
This is a field trip.
Yeah. So it's a field trip, so it doesn't count towards your absenteeism rates at your school. But, you know, make sure like we're looking at the whole picture. Why are kids disinterested? So you should have a Post-it note in front of you. We want you to consider like, why do you think students are missing school? And you can think about why aren't they coming and it's unexcused, and then why might they be not coming because it's excused? Like maybe you're traveling to visit a school.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
When you said drop to 15%, is that statewide or for each?
Statewide.
Yeah, if you look at the graph before, we have several districts that over 50% of their student population is chronically absent, that miss more than 10% of the time.
So we'll just go ahead and start shouting out. So what are some reasons that you think kids are missing school? Let's start with excused absences. Let's start with why kids are absent for excused reasons. Why aren't they coming?
Doctor's visits.
Doctor's visits, yes.
College visits.
Definitely college visits, right?
Vacations and trips.
Yeah, family vacations or trips. Yes.
Traveling for sports.
Traveling for sports, absolutely, right? What about unexcused reasons? What are some reasons kids don't come to school? Lily?
Kids in our county, I'm from Muhlenberg County, and kids just don't want to come. Okay. They're like, I don't want to come, and their parents like don't make them come, so they just don't come.
I remember talking to you like last year about this, but after the pandemic, like, because it happened when like our senior class was in 6th grade, and before that, I don't remember having online homework ever. Like, I cannot remember having homework on my Chromebook before that, but after that, I don't remember having paper homework. All of our homework's online, even for like math classes. Half the time, we just submit pictures. So, because it's so much easier to do schoolwork and stuff at home, even if you just feel like skipping school that day, all you have to do is email your teacher and be like, hey, what do I have to do? And they'll give you the assignment. You can just do it at home. So even if you're not necessarily like, if you just want to take a day off, like you're not missing much because you can do it at home. So people don't feel like as motivated to come into school anymore.
Anybody else?
Like some students I know face a lack of transportation to school at times, and like they would be there if they could be, but they just genuinely can't find a way to school.
I think financial situations, having to work, take care of family, and I know that's what causes some of those like counties to have 50% or more.
That was one of the biggest reasons my students would miss school is because they were working jobs and trying to provide.
Kind of going off of what Patrick said, a lot of this is kind of due to like the family and like how they can like support and like lead their kid to go to school. Like I remember last year we had a slide on there that the biggest increase in chronic absenteeism wasn't in the high school age group. It was like a 200% increase in elementary schoolers. So it's like identifying like what's going on in the relationships between the family and why these kids aren't coming to school.
Right, and we see that when we have been traveling around the state during the summer and this fall. We're talking to administrators and districts, and K through 2 is your highest gap, right? Because a lot of families will say, well, it's not important to come to school, you're not really testing yet, you know, you're not really quote unquote learning anything. And it sets that kind of mindset early on. Yes, sir.
Patrick and Preston make a good point. I think from my experience with living in a low-income neighborhood, it's a lot of parental negligence sometimes, whether it's due to apathy or due to the parents working too much to actually supervise their children. I think part of that also impacts, like Graham said, transportation. The parents are unable to consistently deliver their children to school because they're busy working or they're tired from night shift. There are so many things that poverty impacts that we can't possibly account for them without addressing poverty itself.
To add on to that, I was paying attention a minute ago when you showed absentees before COVID. You noticed that it was still kind of decently high in the more rural areas that do have higher poverty rates because there's so many more students there that are having to not go to school because they're working. Like I am one of those areas that did have chronic absentees before COVID, and most of my friends don't come to school due to the fact that they have to have jobs to take care of their families.
Also, another family-related issue, sometimes parents may have to work during the school day, and there are younger siblings that need to be taken care of. I've had several friends not come to school for 3 to 4 day periods because their parents are facing healthcare issues and they can't get access to adequate healthcare for them, or they have to work overtime to provide for their families. So students will have to stay at home for like 3 to 4 day periods and take care of their younger siblings.
Going on to the next questions, what resources or supports need to be in place to encourage school attendance? You spoke about transportation, and that's definitely one that a lot of districts face. Does anybody else have suggestions for what other supports need to be in place for students?
One of the things I was thinking about, and I'm not sure if you all have this already, but resources out there that help parents and families and students understand the true value of school. Like one of my big things is I care a lot about personal finance, and a personal finance class in Kentucky for a high schooler, if you take it in high school, you get $102,000 in extra benefit throughout your lifetime. And when people hear that number, they're like, oh shoot, let me at least go to take this class. And then they realize, well, an education is good, and education can help me reach my goals. And so it's I think it's a important thing.
I agree. In finance classes now mandatory for all schools, right? I will say that I wish I had had it, because as much as I loved my AP Calculus teacher, I never used AP Calculus, but I sure could have learned how to budget, definitely. Anybody else?
Specifically talking about elementary schools, I know before COVID, after school programs were a pretty big deal. And I don't know if they're necessarily as prevalent as they were back when we were in elementary school, because I know a lot of parents in elementary school, those kids aren't nearly as independent as a high schooler, so you have to be taking care of them all the time. And if you have a parent that doesn't get off work till 5, because elementary schools release, at least in Frankfurt, an hour before any of the other schools. So if you can't get off work at 2:30, and you can't just let them go on the bus, because then they'll be home alone. So you don't have a choice but to take them out of school. So I think increasing the prevalence of those programs after school and maybe even before school for the people that have early shifts could lessen the rate in elementary schools, because we're seeing the highest gap there.
Totally agree. I'm a single parent, and I completely relied upon before and after care for my son in order to get myself to school to be able to teach my students.
I'll add to that. One of the things that I've talked a little bit about the local accountability model proposal, and one of the pillars of that proposal is a phrase that we've used several times in this group and also throughout our proposal is vibrant learning. And we consider that as what type of learning are you doing in your schools that's relevant, that makes an impact to you directly. For example, you know, I've been in school districts where they build tiny houses. You'll have your your engineering class to design it, your carpentry class to build it, your electricity class to wire it, your art class to paint it. Your finance classes will work the budget for it, and then that's sold and brought back in. So if you're a part of that process, I would hate to miss it. I would hate to miss a day of school. I mean, do we give you good motivation to be at school? Is there something that's going on in your school that you're doing each and every day, so you know what, I can't miss because I don't care about the grade necessarily. We may want our GPAs to do well, but you know what, I hate to miss the experience that I'm having, whether it could be an internship. You know, I'll share a quick one personally. My daughter's in medical school now. She had the opportunity to job shadow a lot, and she got to job shadow with an optometrist. She came home one day and she said, "Dad, I knew it was real when she brought out the drill." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" She said she drilled a piece of metal out of a person's eye. And I said, "And you didn't pass out?" She said, "Absolutely not. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen." I was like, and she said, "I can't wait to go back tomorrow." You know, when you're a parent and you have a student that comes home, your child comes home and says, "You know, I can't wait to tell you what I did today, and I can't wait to go back tomorrow." You know, I believe that math and reading is very important. I think state testing is important, but I think it's even much more important that we give you those type of experiences that make an impact. Going back to the tiny houses, we have several students now that have their own tiny house businesses because of the experience they had in high school, where maybe it's personal finance, and how does that impact? Are we coming to school and say, "You know what, I don't know what my attendance rate is, but I just don't want to miss because I'm afraid of missing out." FOMO is real, and it really is, and we want to make sure that's what we're offering in our schools. So again, that's part of the new accountability model, but I think that's one of the best things that we can do to help lower that chronic absenteeism rate.
For time's sake, we're going to go on with the presentation, but if you write anything down on your Post-its, we're going to collect them at the end and take them back to our team and share with them.
I'm going to intervene for just a second. Vivian, you look like you're wanting to say something really badly. Go ahead.
Well, I thought that was such a valuable point, not just instilling the fear in our students of, oh, well, if you don't come, you're going to fail, and it's not going to, your life after high school will be rough, but I think you want them to enjoy it, so they want to come, not just for the grade, not just for the test score, but because that experience, and they know that it's going to be enjoyable, but they're also going to learn something valuable while they're there.
And Vivian and I did not talk before the meeting, so we did not plan that, but thank you, Vivian, for adding that. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to you, ladies.
All right, next slide, please.
So there is this guy that's walking around here. Miles, don't go far. We worked really hard with our communications department to create an awareness campaign, right? So chronic absentee, our marketing campaign. If you have seen these, I'm kind of talking a little bit through our next slide too, but we worked really hard in collaboration with our comms team, who y'all are dope, love y'all, to figure out something that was going to be forward-facing for our state, our communities, that represented and had a message that hits, right? You belong, period, right? Well, exclamation point, but y'all get it. Because attendance does matter. Next slide, please. Do you mind if I just keep going? And so what we did was divide and conquer and figure out ways to and places to put these billboards up all across the Commonwealth. We were very intentional with where they went based on Leslie McKinney. Shout out to her for figuring out some of the zip codes of where our highest rates of chronically absent students live. And so very intentional in placing those. There's, I'll go through some of my distribution pieces. They're on public transportation in Lexington, so all of our buses have the messaging on inside and outside. I did not wreck, but almost wrecked, squirrel moment, seeing one in Lexington a month ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, we did that, that's so cool. But in Louisville and transportation centers as well, the Yum Center, social media, Expo Center, I mean, if you haven't seen one yet, I'm surprised. Y'all feel me? But next slide, please. I'm trying to condense it just a little bit. Our online presence has been intense and very intentional. We have this amazing commercial. If you have not seen it yet, we do have it if we have time to get to it. But we created this 30-second commercial with kids to talk about, again, you belong, right? Because when you're here, these are the things that you get, those experiences, that connection. And so we had really heavy on social media and our YouTube presence. We had about 1.8 million impressions, right? Which, if you look at it in a different kind of way, that's about 40% of the Commonwealth that we've reached. Almost half of the Commonwealth has seen our ad running. Super cool. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. I want to get to it, sorry. And here it is. If you have not seen this yet on YouTube, on Facebook, has anybody seen the commercial? Whether the 30-second or the 15-second clip? It's okay. Awesome. Can you hit play and we're going to experience it together? Sorry. It's okay.
In Kentucky, every student matters. In every classroom, there's a teacher waiting to help you find your future.
When you miss school, you miss more than lessons.
You miss connection, confidence, and community. You belong here. Every day matters.
Every day you show up, you're building your future.
You belong. Let's show up for ourselves, for each other. For Kentucky.
And so we did have a district that mimicked that because, imitation is the best form of flattery. And they made their own based on and with their own student populations, with their STLP teams to make it for their community. But just wanted to share that with you all because not only shout out comms team, but just seeing students in a commercial talking about it, right? It's one thing when we as adults tell or say, this, but seeing peers and people that look like us in that has just been really cool.
And to add to that, I think we've had one district, Letcher County, did a quote, show up and shine was their hashtag and their social media in their area. And I think, was it Casey County that did their own commercial? So we're seeing some of that. And again, those are some higher areas of chronic absenteeism in our eastern part of the state too. So I thought that was really neat.
And then these are just, if you go into your Google search bar and put KDE, chronic absenteeism, it's going to take you to our webpage that has just a ton of resources and for students, for families, communities, to try and provide some sort of support, whatever that looks like, to handle and kind of address some of the barriers and contributing factors that we're seeing. Next slide, please. So I know we started out a little slow pace and then we kind of just crunched it a little bit, but these are 3 questions that we are kind of our next steps. Like we have this amazing awareness campaign that has just been awe-inspiring to be able to be part of and to see. And so we would love to hear from you all. What aspects of the campaign messaging do you like? And then especially as a student, what would you change or improve? And then are there any sorts of printables or any sort of something, right? Like tangible that you think would be helpful for students and families. And that's why we have your Post-it notes. So if you don't necessarily want to say anything out loud, we will take this back to our team to collaborate with our comms and figure out what our next steps look like.
I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I love this. This is, wow, that was like such a good video. And I love the message it spreads. I really like how that targets the younger audience because, parents can see their kids like having fun, connecting, and whatnot. I think at least for me, I grew up thinking that education was like the path to the American dream, and I still believe that. But I think that message kind of resonates a little more with like the older, like the high schoolers and maybe some middle schoolers. So like in the areas that might, have those issues in like school assemblies, which, that might be hard because they don't attend school, but like distribute out to like those communities where they do have like higher high school rates. The fact that like this is an investment, it's not a burden. It's something that will help you. That maybe it is worth like, the minimum wage job that you're working right now.
I would say I really liked how it focused on community, and like you said, I agree that I think it's really good that it targets the younger audience, but I do think materials that also focus more on the families, because I feel like especially with the younger grades, like the 1st through 2nd grade gap, it's not really the kids who have much say over whether or not they go to school. It's the parents deciding whether or not to take them. So I think some sort of like printed materials or something like that targets parents and tells them exactly why it's so important for their kid to be in school could have a really big impact.
And as Ashley mentioned on our website, there are a lot of resources for families that it includes handouts kind of getting into, and they're in multiple languages as well. So if a family doesn't speak English, they can access those materials, and the same for posters for your schools. We're in the process of getting those printed and going to be distributing them, but they're also in English and Spanish, and maybe potentially Swahili.
I like Hadley. I think you made a really good point. It's, this. How do we handle the next phase? The first phase, we did billboards and other things like, for example, there was a welding class, and then there was one booth with a helmet there. We missed you, and we wish you were here. We missed you today. Where we had a group of students that were at in a band class, and there was one instrument in a seat wasn't being played, or a basketball game where there was an open seat on the bench. Like, we missed you. We wished you were here. And so that was phase one, and we did a lot of those. And now this phase is more about you belong here. And now what that next phase could be more of a focus on families, and also too possibly more of a high school focus also too. So I like that. What's our next phase? And that makes some good sense. Thank you both for that.
You'll go to the next slide. This is just if after this you're finally processing and OMG, I have this awe-inspiring something that I want to share. This is how you get in contact with us. Like I said, we are 4 women strong. 2 of our teammates are presenting at an AP cohort right now. But these are also all of the different supports, trainings, workshops, things that our team is actively working on to address not only chronic absenteeism, but again, the disconnection and disengagement that we're experiencing.
And the QR code will take you to our Microsoft Bookings link, so you can schedule like a Teams meeting with us for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. If you get back and you start talking to your student councils or student representation teams, we love student voice. That drives our work because that's who we're here for. So if you get back and you're like, hey, we would like to share, like, please reach out to us and we'll schedule some time to talk with you. Great. You guys can, I see people still writing on their Post-its. If you want to hold on to them, and at the end of the meeting, we'll get those from you. But we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Next, again, thank you, Ms. Henry and Ms. Gates. We will be hearing from Karen Dodd and Susan Strange, and we're going to talk about our title for today, From Vision to Action, Defining Objectives for the Student Advisory Council.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to pass out some papers. You can go ahead and pass those around, and we'll pass these in the opposite direction. So my name is Karen Dodd, and I'm the Chief Performance Officer here at the Kentucky Department of Education. I oversee strategic planning and research, and I have with me today Susan Strange. Susan, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, so I am Susan Strange, and I am the Strategic Plan Program Manager, And actually, before we jump into our presentation today, I want to talk about the things that we're passing out to you all right now. Can I borrow this? Yes. This first document here is an information sheet on the Kentucky United We Learn Council. And the reason that we're doing this is because Karen and I are also in charge. We facilitate the Kentucky United We Learn Council. And so we're actually going to ask for some of your all's help today. As Dr. Fletcher mentioned earlier, we have the assessment and accountability system that's being going through legislation right now. And so that was the first big vision that the Kentucky United We Learn Council had. They put together a new assessment and accountability system. I'm sure you all have heard about it. We've gotten feedback from you all on it already. Daniel is a part of the council as well. So that has gone into effect. And so what we've passed out to you all on top of the information sheet on the council is a quick information sheet on the framework. So this really tells you, why does this matter for me? Why do I care? What can I expect from these changes? And how can I get involved? I do want to mention down on the bottom that we did have the council application open until September 30th, but that has that has closed, and we will be announcing our new council members soon. We don't have that information yet, but So this sheet really is just a way for you to understand the new system. We have these sheets for all kinds of stakeholder groups. We have one for educators, we have one for families, we have one for business and communities, and you can find that on the web page down there. If you want to take this and share this out with people, just to help us champion this new framework. We are very, very proud of it. A lot of work went into it, a lot of feedback from the Commonwealth, from students, from everyone in the community, and so we really just want to champion this work. Okay, I'm going to hand it back over to Karen.
Susan. All right. Still on? Can you hear it? Okay. So this is kind of our agenda for today to make it a little bit more concise. You can read. So we're going to go through what a strategic plan is, some of the major components of it. I'm going to share with you what KDE's main objectives are. And then we really want to get into the meat of it. What do you all want to accomplish as an advisory group over this next year? And that's really where we want to spend our time today. But first, we're going to play a little game. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me. We're going to be talking about vision, mission, and values. Before I go there, does anybody know what a strategic plan is? Any ideas? What does it sound like? What do you think of when you think of strategy? Yeah.
A well thought out plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well thought out plan. So even digging into that a little bit deeper, we set this vision. Go to the next slide. Our vision is an aspiration, a long-term goal. And here at the department, we set a long-term goal of 5 years. So everything in our plan is what we hope to achieve over the next 5 years. So we're going to play a little game now. I've got a few companies, and they're going to show you their vision statement. I think these are pretty easy. Let's see if you can guess what they are. Number 1, bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Any guesses? Nike. Just shout it out. Nike, you got it. All right, next one, to provide access to the world's information in one click.
Google.
Yes, see, you can do this. All right, United We Learn. This place, what is this place? Kentucky Department of Education, yes. All right, Susan's gonna go through.
Actually, so for our vision, we have the United We Learn vision is 3 big ideas. And I'm sure you've heard us talk about the 3 big ideas before. Vibrant learning experiences for every student, encouraging innovation, especially around assessment, and then creating a bold new future for Kentucky schools through collaboration with the community. So those 3 big ideas make up our vision, United We Learn. And then now let's talk about mission. So we've got vision, mission, core values. So our mission is the fundamental purpose and reason for existence, clearly and concisely stating what it does, who it serves, and how it aims to achieve its goals. So now we're going to play the same game. This time we're going to look at some companies' missions and try to guess what those companies are. So the first one is build the cooler we'd use every day if it existed.
Yeti.
Yeti. Yeah. All right, here's the next one. To inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood at a time. Starbucks, yes. Okay, this one. Create broad partnerships to provide leadership and support to ensure success for every student. This place, Kentucky Department of Education. So that is our mission. The last thing we're going to talk about is values, okay? So values are the fundamental enduring principles and beliefs that guide the organization's behavior, decision-making, and culture. They say, this is why I'm making this decision, because of this value that we hold, okay? This one is a little bit different, the game that we're going to play here. And the reason being is I want you to look at these values real quick.
You want to see them?
Each of these, they're very small, I'm sorry. Each of these boxes is one of those companies that we've already talked about, okay? The issue is that core values, a lot of those are going to be the same. They're going to be the equity, they're going to be collaboration, they're going to be something like that. So it's a little bit harder to look at one of these popular companies and say, oh, this core value belongs to this person. But we're going to try it anyway. So for the first one, tell me what color box you think could be Nike. Shout it out. We've got green, blue, gray, yellow, or orange, huh?
Blue.
Blue. Anybody? Blue? Blue?
Yellow.
Yellow? Huh?
Yellow.
Yellow? Okay, here we go. Ready? Yellow. Good job. All right, what about Google? Green? Green? Yeah. Google's green. Okay, Yeti? Blue. Anybody disagree? Blue? Blue for Yeti? Yeah. Oh, I went too quick. Starbucks, sorry. And so what's the last one? Kentucky Department of Education. Yes, so our core values are equity, student success, collaboration, integrity, and innovation. So this slide is just showing all three of those together, our vision, our mission, and our core values. Moving on, we're going to talk about our objectives now. So our objectives are those things that we want to focus on, and again, in Kentucky, this is for the next 5 years. We have 5 that are focused on stakeholders or customers, and we have 3 that are more internally focused, so how we operate internally. So on that customer or stakeholder side, we have reimagine, assessment, and accountability. We have reduce chronic absenteeism, which you just heard about today. Improve early literacy, improve early numeracy, and expand the recruitment of qualified educators. On the operational side, these are the things, again, internally that we're really focused on. And that is improving customer satisfaction, improving organizational process awareness, and build leadership capacity. All right, that takes us to our activities. So we are going to give you some sticky notes. Susan's getting ready to hand those out. So each of you are going to take 3 sticky notes and put on there what you think is something that would be a good objective for you as a council. What is something that you could work on as a council? And you'll put each one of those on a separate sticky note. So I'd like each person to try to come up with 3 objectives. And I'm going to throw out there around the Cool Council. All right, so back to what Susan was talking about earlier. Some of the things that we've been really focused on the accountability model. So maybe local accountability is something that you want to take from a different perspective. Or student vibrant learning is another area that we focus on in the Cool Council. Maybe that's something you want to focus on. Portrait of a learner, portrait of a graduate, that's another activity that we did as part of the Cool Council. Community involvement. The last council, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but they really focused on school safety. They did a lot of research, put together a whole presentation for the board, and presented it to the Board of Education. But maybe that's something you want to revisit. I'm just throwing some things out there to consider. If you choose something that the Cool Council has been interested in, just saying, it might be something that we could then take to the Cool Council and share with them. Just some ideas. Got a little over a minute to come up with your 3 objectives. Once you have your 3, we're going to put them up on the sticky papers that Susan has just put up on the wall. And we're going to put you into groups. So this table here to my right, you're going to put your sticky notes up on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You 6 are going to be right behind Preston. Put your sticky notes up there. The next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so ending with Charlie. You're going to be right behind Charlie. And then our remaining 5, it's going to be right behind Lillian where you're going to put your stickies. So as soon as you're done, you can go ahead and move and put your stickies up there. Okay. So once everybody gets their sticky notes up there, what we're going to do is you're going to get with your group and you're going to kind of huddle around your paper a little bit. And you guys are going to read through all those objectives that your group has chosen. And then you guys are going to pick the top 3 out of all of those as your group's top 3. So again, you're going to get with your group around your big Post-it note. You're going to look at all of the objectives that you all have chosen individually, and then as a group, you're going to pick the top 3 to bring forward. And we're going to share this out, so go ahead and pick somebody that can share that out too. You guys have got 3 minutes on that.
I think definitely absenteeism, prevention, resources, engaging.
If you want, we can like pile those together.
So these are my 5. Yeah, should we like sort them?
Like the CTE.
Library.
I've seen a couple
I see a lot of like and then this one's kind of reverse voice.
Let's go ahead and put I feel like that's like intellectual curiosity, like those two.
I see the trend. Oh wait, what?
I think that might be like the same with adjust necessary curriculum.
Okay.
I feel like that might be.
Okay, what
We have 4 steps. We have 4 steps.
Yeah.
Can we combine?
We're definitely picking community. Local.
Oh, and that
Maybe
can go on.
say like effectively represent
I'm not posting this.
I don't know. I feel like they're both different.
Okay.
Okay, these are all
Okay.
So we got like 5 stacks right now. Okay. Can we
We're picking this. We're picking this.
And if I push pictures, it has a lot.
Okay. Can we combine this?
That's what I was saying.
So out of these, which ones do you guys like?
Yeah.
All right, guys, you're down to about 1 minute. Make sure you picked out your person to present.
Mental health, community involvement, absenteeism, and then like the secondary.
What's there? You got it. Cool. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got that.
Why does somebody else want to?
You volunteered.
I know.
You said you
everyone
would.
said not.
He said not.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. Just try to think of something.
We have
30 seconds.
I like this one. I feel like,
Let's just say every
yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I also think this could be interesting, especially with the AI. We can combine this. Also,
Do those two have anything in common?
right, yeah. So maybe like post.
Yeah.
Let's just say post-secondary.
10 more seconds. Make sure you have your
Look
top
how organized we are.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
2, 1. All right, everybody has their top 3? All right, I'm going to start here with this group. Who is your speaker? All right, if you'll come over here to this board and then share out the top 3 that you came up with.
No, take the stacks too.
Okay. So we did engage in student opportunities, like
The whole set.
4 things in school that would make you want to go.
You guys are going to vote on these. Make sure you pay attention.
Oh. Okay. Aid students after high school, like whether it's trade school, workforce, post-secondary education, just helping more make a decision and figure out what you want to do kind of earlier in your high school career. Adjust necessary curriculum to fit changes. We also included AI with that, meaning like the school system can't stay the same forever in what they teach, and I think we're really outdated in a lot of things. Especially with the use of AI, I think that would be helpful to figure out how we can use that in schools, make it beneficial.
A
Great.
quick
Thank
question.
you, Gabby.
I have to ask this, just show of hands, and I'm not looking for answers, but how many of you have seen a difference in how your teachers present or how your teachers have the class because of AI? Show of hands. That's good, very good.
Awesome. All right, who's presenting in our next group? Come on up.
Okay, so first we focus on vibrant learning, and that's kind of prepping students for life after high school, kind of like what they shared. So when students have these vibrant learning experiences and they're able to see how they're going to apply what they're being taught to life after high school, that's very meaningful. And that also fosters like a general love for learning for those students. And then we went with like local and state accountability. We wanted to see how these districts are going to implement it on a local level and get communities more involved. Oh yeah, and then we wanted more representation, like opinions from underrepresented groups, like maybe VLA students, alternative program students, or special education students as well.
Great. You go ahead and put those up there for me. All right, let's come over to this group over here. Who's your speaker? Bring them with you, your top three. Mm-hmm.
They stack too.
So our top three were equity, collaboration, and research. And so for equity, this is a very big umbrella group, such as increasing mental health resources for students who need that help, or increasing awareness about CTE programs or programs like vocational training. Then for collaboration, we thought about the aspect of really connecting cities and communities with the school environment. So maybe thinking of internships or ways that students can shadow people in the community. And so thinking about that collaboration aspect to really show students what they can do after high school to be more involved in their community. And finally, research really focused on maybe creating surveys to assess the school environment and the school spirit, and just generally gauge out how engaged students feel at their schools and their institutions.
Thank you. Last group. Bring your sticky notes with you.
Our first one was about mental health support, just because I think we kind of went off of our previous discussion like an hour ago. But just like more, we talked about like more counselors and available, because a lot of us, like, I know a lot of us in this room come from smaller schools. Like mine, I think, has maybe 700 in our whole school. And I mean, who was it that only had one counselor for like 1,000? Yeah, we have 2 counselors for our whole school basically, and then we had a like social worker who's almost never there, because I think there's like for the whole district. Just so we just need more like support, like people. And then our second one was just representation for diversity. The past like 5-10 years, we've seen like an increase in different like backgrounds and groups of people coming in, and we've seen, in my school at least, we've seen like initiatives for certain like groups of people to create their own clubs. But I think just more of that is like makes people like feel like they belong. And then our last one was an increased opportunity for students just to like do stuff in the school, like whether it's clubs or events, or we talked about like research opportunities and collaborative presentations, because a lot of kids just don't know what they want to do after high school. And I think those opportunities, having more of them within schools, will just allow them to kind of figure out what path they're going towards.
You want to come on up there? Thank you very much. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have each of you come up and put a check mark next to your, let's do top 2. All right, each of you can choose 2, and you'll put a check mark. So we'll have check marks going across.
Now, we had a couple that overlap, so do we want to put those Post-its together?
Yeah, I
that
thought
were-
Susan was doing that. Susan, did
Susan, you
you?
gonna handle it?
Yeah, so Susan's
Yeah,
going to.
we got a bunch of stackers around here, so.
So your check marks will go across. So next to the Post-it that you think is one that you would really like to focus on, and you can each have 2 check marks. So we have a couple markers up here, and we're just going to start right here. And y'all will come around this way, put your check marks up, and walk. You don't need the microphone for that. And then you can have a seat once you do your voting.
It's election day all over. I'm 17. Oh, okay. So I've never voted. Sorry to let you know. This is taking me back to yeah, what you know about the 2008 election? Oh, do I know? Who was president in 2000? Obama. Was it H. Bush? George W. H.W. H.W. No, that was Clinton. Yeah. My A-push teacher stopped teaching after we got to World War II. Yeah, we ran out of time. The rest of it was modern. Yeah, it wasn't really like that. Except like, I felt like the whole test was like 1940, like, last year.
Oh, me too. Have you done the program before?
For a full day with Superintendent Award. I think she's great. She's good at it. She's a good person. You guys are really working on
This is my
profile
first time
learner.
doing like I'm more excited about it.
I could see her just.
Okay, I'm feel for
I'm doing a one. I'm doing a
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm listening up for.
Oh, yeah, so people automatically.
Our school doesn't have
We've done different, we've done
it.
Which
is so sad. It sounds like so much
Oh my
different.
gosh,
Public
yeah.
universities now have a graduate profile.
Yeah, I mean, like having it second.
If I knew that we were gonna see the note itself, I would have written
Especially for
wrote
stuff
more,
like this,
but I just wrote like one
Sometimes
sentence.
it really does set you up for yeah, definitely. I did it in 6th grade, but then COVID hit. and we never did it again. We have like a Y pod, but it's called Modeling Honor. Most people have
It's great.
I live.
Don't tell our
That's
brother.
right. You guys go to. I know. You know where Newport is?
Yeah.
I live in County below.
Okay.
I'm in Grant.
Yeah. I cheer with her. Oh wow, yeah, we
Preston,
met
have
at
you met
Jesus.
Preston?
Oh, okay, okay.
And Woodford?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
So,
She's doing it. She's doing a great job.
She really is.
I'm seeing a lot more like student like involvement programs. Just the difference between last year and this year.
She's a go-getter. She really is. I've known
Yeah,
her
we're
a
in the
long
same
time.
Yeah.
Did you go to South Oldham the other week?
That was the district. Took me there, but yes, I did go to South Oldham. Also went to the LaGrange Elementary.
Nice.
And I also went to East. They actually printed a T-shirt that had the commish on the side, had the big
In your face.
page. Well, as a matter of fact, my face on it. Yeah.
That's funny.
But no, this is
Super partisan.
came from East. Some districts have stickers and I try to put them on. That's all.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
You know, I voted
The principal there is.
I don't know. I just
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all for voting. We have some pretty clear winners here. So our top two are engaging student opportunities or vibrant learning experiences and aid students on higher education progression. Was there anyone that felt like there's one up there that you really think that I didn't mention, other than those two, that you really think you need to be giving some opinions on as a group? Everybody likes those two, vibrant learning and higher ed progression? All right. Out of those two, think about which one you really like. Higher ed progression, raise your hand. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Vibrant learning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 for vibrant learning. Everybody feel, is that everybody? Is that equal 20?
Yeah,
21?
that's
Okay.
20. Oh, we're missing one person.
No, she already left.
Oh, okay.
I think. All right, how do y'all feel about that? Focus on higher ed progression, so what needs to happen from high school to get into college? Is that what we're thinking? Am I stating that correctly?
Does that fit? And I'm going to defer to Dr. Fletcher because he is on our reimagining, transforming high schools situation. Does that kind of fit with that as well? 'Cause
I
that's
think
what
it fits
Nicole has
perfectly
into.
into, it's almost like it's a subset of vibrant learning. Because if you're looking at, one of the things that we're working with the National Association of School Boards is how do we reimagine the high school experience? And that also doesn't just start in the high school setting, but what does that look like in the elementary? We're also one of, I think, 5 states that are talking about how do we implement more career exploratory. And we're not, that, if you want to be a physician, if you want to be a welder, or if you want to be a teacher, how do you have those opportunities to explore in the middle school? Then by the time you get to high school, and I think Ms. McAdams, you said, then to have more options. One of my favorite quotes from a student that, as a former superintendent, is she said she changed her pathway 3 times in high school. And she said, so essentially I changed my major 3 times, and it didn't cost my parents a dime. Because when you go to college, you're going to be paying for more classes as you go along. So again, I think they're close in relation, but absolutely you can approach those in 2 different ways. I think both fit perfectly into what we're talking about as we move forward. Because at the end of the day, it's all about relevancy.
I agree. So I think you all have a really good opportunity to give some input to the Kentucky United We Learn Council. There may even be another student here who has applied to be on the council who will be receiving a letter very soon. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, okay, so I think we were over time for today, but we'd like to continue this conversation with you and really help you guys along in coming up with some kind of a project that you can do around this topic and that you can then move forward and collaborate with Kentucky United We Learn, maybe even present to the Board of Education. Does that sound interesting to all of you? Yeah? Awesome. All right, well, thank you all so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Fletcher.
One of the things that is a large part of my job is working with legislators. I talk with legislators on at least once every 2 weeks. I get texts from legislators on a regular basis, and the points I try to make to them really around our accountability model is how are we changing schools so that it's more about what's relevant to you, what's joyful to you, what makes an impact to our students moving forward. So the post-its that you had are not just post-its, those are also talking points when I go speak with legislators. We need to make change in policies, change in statute. I can say this came directly from our students. The same thing with other advisory councils. If at different times, for whether it's with superintendents, I may be talking about maybe seek funding. This is the information that's coming from superintendents. This is what they want to see, and I'm able to get that information from superintendents for the local superintendent's advisory council and the superintendent advisory council. But also, too, maybe it's about working conditions for teachers. We also have a teachers advisory council. And then, of course, from the student aspect, the student experience, that's things that I need to hear. Even though I was a superintendent recently, things change very quickly. So I need to hear your voice so I can take those messages over to our policymakers, and it makes a difference. So again, thank you for that input. We really appreciate that. So I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Turner for our roundtable discussion and member sharing.
Okay, I think because of the time period today, we've gone over, which is okay because we've had some awesome discussion. I think we'll postpone the roundtable discussion until our December meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
How much time do we have left, Rosalind? We're over time already?
We're over time.
Let's take just 5 minutes, and we'll extend this into the next session too, but let's take just 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
You've experienced this before.
No.
Just 5 minutes, okay? And if you could share, sorry, it's the privilege of being commissioner, I guess. If you could share a vibrant learning experience within your district that you would want everyone else to hear about, and you could do that within maybe 15, 20 seconds, what would you want to share that's going on in your district? You know what? We want to share our story. This is something that I'm so proud of within my school that I want others to see. Show of hands. Abigail.
So our schools actually started allowing us to intern at like law offices. And so I am
Nice.
interning at the #1 personal injury law firm in Owensboro, Kentucky and Madisonville, Rhodes and Rhodes. My friend is interning.
Little commercial
under a
there, just
judge.
throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out if you need anything. My friend is interning under a judge, and my other friend is under Foreman Watson and Holtree, and I'm so proud of our school for doing that. Even though I want to study vet med, I'm studying law, but it's okay.
But you get a wide range of experiences.
Right.
I think that's something else that we're charged to do within our districts is we give students an opportunity. This may be a pathway that you never thought about, but it's so interesting. And instead of, going through 4 years of college and saying, okay, well, I want to try this, I want to try this, we should be giving you those experiences in high school and to give a variety of experiences. Thank you for sharing. Next. Sophie.
Like her school, my school tries really hard to give every student the opportunity that they want to intern, even though we are in a very rural area. We have very little things around us, but right now because of that, I'm currently working on an internship with NASA.
Oh, wow. That's great. I'm sorry, give the company again?
NASA?
Oh, wow. I thought you said NASA. Did you say NASA? Wow. Okay. See, even these are stories that I need to hear because I'm like, oh, my goodness, this is happening. And, we had anybody a part of the We Lead Computer Science that's offered, it's a virtual program, but it's for districts that may not be able to offer computer science themselves. We had a student in rural Kentucky that interned with Procter & Gamble that would not have had that opportunity. Procter & Gamble is several hundred miles away, would not have had that opportunity if it wasn't for We Lead Computer Science. So having that, I would never have dreamed of being able to intern with NASA. Really? Yeah, exactly. And here's something else that people don't understand. Kentucky's #1 export is not bourbon. It's not horses. It's aerospace. And Morehead State is one of the centers of that export. Keep that in mind. All right, others. Seth.
We have our journalism department is collaborating with the entire school to put on a living literary newspaper where we'll fundraise a trip for the entire high school to go to New York. And it's basically putting on a series of student-made plays about social justice and current events, mostly a collaboration between the theater department and the English department, but it engages every part of our students, including like sound and tech, everything.
That's awesome. Collaboration, one of the 3 pillars we talked about earlier, collaboration. And to have that, now you have a clear goal. This is how we're working together. It also values our cultural wealth within our community. And then how do we move forward with it? A couple others. Yes, Prisha.
We have Club Mondays, so every other Monday during school, we have like half an hour where every teacher has a club that you can go to, and it helps people who can't stay after school still explore different stuff.
Yeah, just giving kids opportunities, making sure every single student has an opportunity. I think that's phenomenal. Lillian, I'm going to call you out. You're getting ready to do defensive learning, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your defensive learning.
So our district has created a culture blueprint. It's like engaged citizen, profile of a learner. And you go through all these things. Like it starts in elementary school, like 5th graders are having to give it, then you'll give it again in 8th grade, then you'll give it again in high school. And it's basically your like recap of what school has brought you, like how you've been engaged as a citizen in the area in our county. So you give it in front of panel of judges. It's a teacher, superintendent, her board office, and then different business people from in our county. And you'll give it 5 minutes, and you have to create a slideshow and everything. But it prepares you for college to speak in front of other people and stuff.
We have districts that are getting into this work. We have districts that have done this for several years. We have students that are giving these defenses of learning and getting job offers in their senior year in some districts. And that's what Muhlenberg and several around the table, I think Jefferson County's been doing the Journey to Success for several years, which is phenomenal. That's part of your milestone projects and things of that nature. All right, a couple others. Gabriella.
One of the most vibrant experiences I had at my school. So we have a physics class and we do a cardboard boat regatta where you have to make a boat and we put it on our lake out of only duct tape and cardboard. I wasn't in the class, but any junior who wanted to do it, you could just tag along with someone else's boat. And I think it's stuff like that that makes people want to come to school.
Sure.
I think, it was freezing water. Most people's boats just like completely collapsed and they fell in, but it's very fun. And usually after someone's taken that class, that's their favorite memory from high school.
I've only seen that in one other district, and they also included all their special needs students. And you want to talk about a special experience. That was awesome because those kids won. Now, there might have been somebody helping them along the way. We won't mention any names, but still yet, they put the boat together. They worked together, and they were so proud, and they did a phenomenal job. So, again, I've only seen that in 2 districts. I think that's awesome. Another? Yes, sir, Patrick.
I think that in our school, we have a good connection between the school, the public school, and the private sector. So our government class, when you're in 11th grade, when you take your government class, you propose your own bill. And so it takes you through the legislative process, and our teachers are very encouraging in the fact that they even tell us about other programs like CUNA, KYA, et cetera. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. And one of our students actually went on to go and attempt and pass their bill. So it was very cool. And our school is continuing to develop that. So
it's awesome. All right. Yes, sir.
Kind of going off of Abby and Sophie, but our school kind of extended their co-op program to where you can kind of go anywhere within the district almost and kind of complete something to do with your major. So I and a friend of mine are working at the Kentucky Department of Insurance alongside this KDE thing. And also they've introduced this program where students can page for the legislation. I'm not sure how far reaching that is, but I don't know how many districts have been doing that, but it started this year at ours. And so I think 10 students from our school can just go every week and help out with the legislation.
Now, and again, thank you so much for sharing, but to have that opportunity to be a part of the legislative process, the policy-making process, I think that's, you're learning how to make an impact. Now, with that being said, so I don't get in trouble with Rosalind anymore, I'm going to share 2 very quickly, and I still want to continue this in roundtable because these are the ideas that we need to get out to our lawmakers, to our people, and we don't want this to happen in pockets. We want every student to have this type of opportunity, whether it's rural Kentucky, inner city, urban, suburban. We want all students to have this type of opportunity. It should not matter your zip code. It should not matter your socioeconomic status of whether or not you get this experience. That's what we want. I'll share 2 very quickly with you. For example, I'll go to Elizabethtown. Elizabethtown has the Lake Roomba that they're working on. So what they've done is I think their local community came in and said, hey, look, we're having some issues with, and I'm sorry, we have somebody from Elizabethtown. Vivian, you're from Elizabethtown, right? Yes, okay. The local tourism groups come and said, we're having some issues with garbage and trash on our lake. We're asking your engineering class, and you know the engineering teacher very well there, I'm sure. Their class is designing a lake Roomba to clean the lake, take the garbage to one area, dump it, and then take it to a landfill. So you think about the GPS systems, the robotics, and everything that's a part of that. But you have a local community problem. They're coming to their school to solve it, and they're asking students. That's project-based learning. It's place-based learning. Those are the type of things we love. And I'll stop with this one. We actually did an article. Fiona, within our communications group, did an article recently in Barron County. I don't think we have anybody from Barron County here. Okay. In Barron County, there's a teacher who noticed that as a kindergartner, this student was wearing a rubber glove, but he didn't have a hand. It was just a rubber hand that was over that had no function whatsoever. That teacher began doing some research. After 2 or 3 years, within the STEAM lab in that elementary school, they 3D printed a prosthetic hand. They worked with a robotics group across the nation to make sure, like for that student, if he flexes his wrist one way, it'll close the hand. If he flexes it another way, it'll open the hand. They also teach 3D printing and robotics within their elementary school, and this student is taking the class, among several students, in the 4th grade. And as this student grows, they actually own the trademark on this hand, and they can print the hand for the student. Now, can you imagine being another student? Well, first of all, can you imagine when you see a picture of the 4th grader? It really looks like Iron Man, but he's the coolest kid in the building now. But that's his hand. And that was printed in a classroom in Kentucky. I can't imagine, first of all, being the teacher, but second of all, could you imagine being another student that maybe had a part of that printing? That's relevant. That's vibrant learning. Everything that was mentioned here today is what we want. We want students to have those type of experiences, to make a difference, to make a change. And we want that to be available, again, to everyone, regardless of zip code, regardless of socioeconomic status. That's vibrant learning. Okay. That being said, I think that brings us to, Rosalind, what do we have next on the agenda? Next meeting? Is that what we're talking about next?
Yes.
Okay.
Our next meeting will be on December the 9th, and it will be virtual. But I want to tell you all, as soon as this meeting is over today, we're going to take a group picture, so stay in the room. Miles will get you set up, and after we take the group picture, we're going to walk down where we're going to have lunch, and someone will talk to those of you that need travel reimbursement or hotel reimbursement. Someone is going to explain that to you down the hall where we have lunch, and we invite you to stay. I think the commissioner will be having lunch with us, and we can continue. Oh, and we will also have headshots. Thank you, Miles. As you're going to lunch, before you eat, stop and see Miles again, and we're going to get an individual shot of each one of you. And you have ballots in your email to vote for chair and vice chair. Please do that today or tomorrow. We would appreciate that. And I think that's all we have for today, but we'll see you all again on December 9th, but we're going to go have lunch, and we can continue this conversation about vibrant learning over lunch.
Do we need a motion to adjourn or anything like that?
We do need a
Do we have
motion to adjourn. Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
A second.